Welcome to the introduction of Assemblies of God missions. My name is David Hernandez, and we're just going to go jump right into this. So the big W's that we will cover today is why is mission so important, what is currently being done in missions, and what needs to be done to further missions today. So why is mission so important? And what is missions? Missions is a total response of the people of God in obedience to everything that God has commanded and invited us towards. This is crucial because in Romans 10:13 through 15, it says, "For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless someone is sent?" We've heard throughout the entire class that so many opportunities, so much resources that is available to us. How are we laying down our lives to reach the lost? There are currently 3.3 billion people that are completely unreached at the moment. They have no church, no Bible, and no access to Christian witness. These are things that we can definitely change. And so, in order to understand the task ahead of us, we must understand what we've done in the past. What has God done in the past, and how has the church responded as such? In the early days of missions, it was very much faith based. There was a lot of zeal, a lot of passion for the Lord, which is great, but there was no spirit led strategy. As a result, it very much felt like the wild, wild west. Charlatans would arise and take advantage of churches that were very zealous for the Lord, taking their finances that would have actually gone toward missions. Women weren't championed in the past. They had to raise their own funds, often not having any organizational backing at all and having to do things out of their own accord. And we have to understand that as a result of this, we would go into these countries with no strategy. Some missionaries would be sent to multiple cities or the same city with multiple missionaries coming in. Other cities would not have any missional approach at all. And so this disconcerted, not organized at all approach on who we could be meeting, where we could be strategically reaching the lost. We also have to be understanding that crucial that past missions had a flavor of colonialism. There was still very much this bitter taste in the world as the West conquered many other parts of the world, that they would impose Christianity as well. So we must be wary. We must wary not to impose the West when we share Christ with the world. So modern missions must do completely different. We must present Christ and let that culture understand it in their context. So we have a new role here in the West. We are no longer the main sending agency. We're not the number one people going out to the rest of the world. Now it's the rest of the world evangelizing the rest of the world, and we have a new role in modern missions. And so, what does healthy missiology look like? What is the role of the modern church here in the West, and or just the role of missionaries in general? One, we must have compassion at the heart of everything we do. We see that in Jesus' ministry, compassion was at the center of it, and we must do the same because fear dominates the lives of millions in every culture, and our response to reach them should be out of compassion, and this comes straight from the heart of the Father. And so, our biggest task is when we come to these places is how do we come in? And compassion is often the door that lets us in. And then from there, how do we let churches become of age? How do we let them understand the gospel in their own context? How do we understand Christ in their own theological understandings without neglecting truth for what it is? We never take away from truth. And so our task is to reach, plant, train, and serve these churches. We reach by expending every effort through effective means to proclaim the message of Jesus to those who don't know him. We plant churches that need to be self-supporting, self-propagating, and self-governing. We cannot have a colonial flavor over this. To train our spiritual leaders in these areas to serve effectively as pastors, as evangelists, as teachers, as missionaries. To serve. We partner with local believers in churches to serve the poor and suffering people within their communities with the compassion of Christ and invite them to follow him. We must be wary that when we share our theological understandings, that if we impose them on these people groups, it is a deep-rooted form of colonialism, which is why it must be crucial to let these churches understand Christ in their own cultural context. And so what is currently being done today, the Assemblies of God are doing an amazing job. They are here in the States, expanding God's mission through chaplaincy, which is we are churching those outside the four walls. These are people that have committed their lives to people that won't step inside of churches, and that is amazing. We will go and take the church to them. Teen Challenge is helping teenagers come out of recovery, out of alcoholism, out of drug addiction, and bring them to Christ. Chi Alpha is our strategic ministry toward college campuses. They are strategically put there because the world comes to the college campus. Across the globe, we have Live Dead. These are people that are committed to love Christ and committed to love their fellow man. They're going to places and countries that are closed off, regional agencies that go through different parts of the world, sending and being strategic with our missionaries. BGMC, Boys and Girls Missionary Challenge. They are empowering our children to be generous and already be missional minded from such a young age. And so the task at hand is still very much huge. We have, if you look at the numbers, about 6% of all our church's global income goes towards missions. Of that actual 6%, only 5 cents of every $100 goes toward the 1040 window, which is insane because in that 1040 window, there is 66% of the unreached people groups of the world. There are over 800 people groups that haven't been reached in Africa, over 1,000 unreached in Asia Pacific, over 5,000 in Eurasia, over 1,000 in Europe, over 600 in Latin American Caribbean area, and over 400 in Northern Asia. All in all said, there are 3.3 billion people that are still unreached. We can do this in our lifetimes if we will. Thank you so much.